Hello, Morongo Basin and listeners around the world online at Z107.7fm.com. This is your Z107.7 local news for Saturday, March 15th, 2025. Snow and rain have fallen in the high desert, and though it didn't stick around most elevations, the mountains are pretty socked in with plenty of fresh powder. That's good news for the snowpack levels, as I don't have to remind everyone how dry this winter's been. The rainfall is also good for our native plants, of course, but it's probably too late in the season to make a difference for those seeking a super bloom. The California State Parks website has a post with some great comparison shots of the Antelope Valley Poppy Preserve in different years, one with a deep orange blanket of poppies, the other representing this year, more barren. That doesn't mean the desert will be devoid of color, far from it. We'll soon see bright pinks popping out of prickly pear cactus. Creosote will crack open their yellow flowers before transforming into their silvery seed states. My firecracker penstemon already popping off with rich red coral flowers. And while it isn't like last year, Joshua tree blossoms are also waking up in the cool rain. I have a few of our namesake trees at my house, more than a few according to the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. I've been thinking about the Western Joshua tree a lot since I sat in on the information sessions they held this past Monday. During those sessions, they detailed the audit you need to do on your property if you're going to build or dig around a Western Joshua tree, and the possible fees that could run into the thousands of dollars if you were to disturb multiple trees. As defined by the CDFW, each stalk of a Joshua tree is its own tree. So what I previously defined as only one tree is really 4 or 5. And I have one small Joshua tree forest in the making with 6 different trees in various sizes sprouting up from the ground, from a full-grown tree to an adolescent stalk, all the way down to a few seedlings that have taken root. I love those trees and water them when they need it, like all native plants on my property. I'm in their space and not the other way around, which is why I moved to the Mojave. But now I see my mini forest as a potential price tag that I couldn't pay if I were to build near them. The trees are only a few feet from my home and an outdated fence I'd love to replace someday. There are a lot of specifics to the Western Joshua Tree Conservation Act and Plan and the fees associated with it. We'll have some of the slides that the CDFW used for their presentation, which they said will eventually be posted online in its entirety, but as of this broadcast isn't up yet. During the presentation, the CDFW also discussed the Western Joshua tree transplanting, and I asked them about the success rate of those transplants. Drew Kaiser from the CDFW said that with the proper aftercare, bare root relocation were reported to have survival rates of 50 to 90%. Using a tree spade, however, can have higher survival rates of 90% or greater. The California Department of Fish and Wildlife are still accepting public written comment via email, and there was plenty of comments during the first presentation on Monday. Most residents, like me, expressed their love of the tree, but were weary of the fees being attached to them. You can still submit comments to the CDFW staff by emailing wjt@wildlife.ca.gov. We'll have those contact links along with all the other links mentioned in this story at our website, Z107.7fm.com. It's the third Saturday of the month, and that means galleries are opening up new shows in Yucca Valley. Here with the happenings for tonight is art lover Jeff Harmatz.
High Desert Artist Co-op debuts 2 new shows tonight. The first is called DNA, a group show curated by Marcia Geiger that focuses on the intersection of genetics and environment. The second show, Relics, features fired clay wall hangings from sculptor Thomas Albin. Both shows will debut with a reception from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Goat Mountain Co. delivers a sequel to one of their most popular shows. That's right, it's the Return of Yucca Man. This group show features High Desert artists debuting new work featuring the High Desert's favorite cryptid. There will also be a show featuring salt and pepper shakers. The reception begins at 5 p.m. The Joshua Tree National Park Association debuts a new show called Desert Dwellers, Life in the Mojave. A reception runs from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. and art sales support Joshua Tree National Park. A number of other Yucca Valley-based artists and stores will be showing their work throughout town today. For a full list of participating galleries, studios, and shops and their open hours, see this story at Z107.7fm.com. Reporting for Z107.7, this is Jeff Harmatz.
The High Desert Nature Museum has announced that their gallery space for From Waste to Wonder 2025 Recycled Art Exhibition is incredibly close to being full, so be sure to call the museum at 760-369-7212 before loading up your piece and driving down. Shelters continue to be at capacity throughout the state and here in the Morongo Basin. If you have a pet that isn't spayed or neutered and you live in an unincorporated area of San Bernardino County, you can get a voucher to help reduce the cost of fixing your pet. You can receive $200 toward fixing a dog or $100 toward fixing a cat. The program aims to reduce the pet overpopulation that is causing shelters to struggle. Vouchers are distributed on a first-come, first-served basis while funds last. The vouchers can be redeemed at pre-approved participating local veterinary clinics. We'll have a link to the voucher program on our website, or you can search for San Bernardino County Animal Sterilization Assistance in whatever search engine you use. The town of Yucca Valley has issued a press release saying that its animal shelter is looking to increase the number of nonprofit animal rescue groups that it partners with. The press release states that on March 12th, shelter staff reached out to 625 animal rescue organizations to help rehome more animals, which they say is part of the shelter's deep commitment to give every animal a chance at a loving home. The Yucca Valley Animal Shelter is currently under an operational review after 2 consecutive town council public comment periods were dominated by residents concerned with the shelter's euthanasia rates and communication policies, amongst others. If you're a 501c3 animal rescue nonprofit who's interested in partnering with the town's shelter, we'll have a link to the instructions at this story on our website. We'll also have links to the animal shelters here in Joshua Tree and 29 Palms. So if you're looking for a furry companion, I urge you to consider visiting a shelter and adopt, don't shop. Astral Drifter is an award-winning multi-genre cult classic smash film by local auteur director Mike Caravella, and they'll be having their hometown premiere tonight in Yucca Valley. Reporter Gabriel Hart spoke to Caravella about the journey of his epic film, which is being called the psychedelic western sci-fi kung fu comedy the universe needs.
Caravella says Astral Drifter takes place, quote, sometime before yesterday or after tomorrow, where a man called Drifter goes on an existential journey through a maze of outrageous scenarios with his trusted sidekick to save the day, the girl, or maybe even the universe, unquote. Partly inspired by that strange transformational part of history during the COVID lockdown, Caravella used the time on his hands to get creative with an experimental new project that could utilize his penchant for our open spaces.
So I was familiar with the landscape and the locations, and I know there's a lot of quirky things. So I was inspired by some of the quirky things, and so I wrote the short, and then I shot the short quickly thereafter, and then started submitting it to film festivals. And wound up spending a year and a half on the film festival circuit, winning 35 awards with the short.
Oh, that's great.
So I was like, I think I got something here, so...
Caravella then wrote the full-length version of Astral Drifter, followed by 2 more scripts that will eventually comprise a trilogy in the works. Meanwhile, he wasted no time with his pre-production hustle, raising money and awareness through the successful Indiegogo campaign, then acquiring investors while him and his wife, quote, threw everything they had in the movie. The full-length version of Astral Drifter went into on-location production in winter of 2023.
Which is a quick turnaround for a low-budget indie. And it's a pretty ambitious low-budget indie. It's beautiful. It's a landscape-filled spaghetti western vibe. But it's crazy. So, that's a quick turn. Most movies on this budget is 4 people sitting in a room talking to each other.
Some of the local landmarks Caravella filmed for Astral Drifter include Giant Rock and Landers, Amboy Crater, various Joshua Tree and 29 Palms locations, plus farther out into the dunes at Death Valley. While backed by a daily crew of 60 people that included 25 actors, Caravella took a painstakingly hands-on auteur approach to the film. He not only wrote, directed, and produced, but also location scouted, and anything he wasn't directly involved in, he oversaw with a close eye.
From inception, from the little spark of an idea in my head, all the way through, I've been involved in every step of the way.
Following a red carpet pre-party where the public can meet cast and crew, Astral Drifter plays at 9:45 this Saturday at Paradigm Cinemas, followed by a Q&A with the director and cast members. Reporting for Z107.7, I'm Gabriel Hart.
And that's your local news for Saturday. You can hear local news 7 times a day, 7 days a week at 7, 8, 9, noon, 4, 5, and 6. More Morongo Basin residents get their local news from Z107.7 than any other source. Reporting out of Joshua Tree, California, alongside the award-winning Z107.7 news team, I'm Robert Hayden.